it's directly empowering far-right discourse around this. And we know that the far right have been absolutely capitalizing on this issue, and they've been pushing this information for years as well. And we know that this has had horrendous consequences. So things like victims of survivors of abuse have spoken out about the trauma and the anxiety that it causes to have their abuse weaponized by the far right. There's been survivors in Rotherham, for example, wrote an open letter about the impact of, repeated far right activity in the town. We have reports of Muslim children being bullied at school as being groomers. We have an 81-year-old man who was beaten to death while being called racial slurs, so the P word, and a groomer, despite no evidence at all that he was involved in child sexual abuse. And groomer, I would argue, has become a racial slur in itself. And then, we have things like the attacks on the centre housing refugees and asylum seekers in Knowsley, where there were far-right campaigners or protesters there chanting nonces. So this all then gets tied up with a kind of broader anti-immigration agenda. We've got the attacks in Christchurch, the mosques in New Zealand. Again, the ammunition there being inscribed for Rotherham. The attacks on the migrant centre in Dover. The attacker there was deeply tied up in kind of far-right ideology and had written a lot online about, supposedly all Muslims being groomers. We've got the Finsbury Park mosque attacks. So there have already been deadly consequences. And the government know this. And they've just basically handed over marginalised communities on a plate. And they've handed over child sexual abuse victims on a plate. And it's so dangerous.